I was reborn as the girl he betrayed me for. Now I hold his heart. But first I had to lose everything. The rain hit the broken windows like sharp fingers tapping out my sentence. The hallway was soaked in shadows, flickering with light from a dying fluorescent bulb. I stood barefoot on the cold concrete steps of the old hotel where he had asked me to meet him. My hair clung to my face, soaked and tangled, like the thoughts twisting in my head. And there he was. Jin. He stood a few steps above me, his chest rising and falling, water running down his jaw like sweat, like guilt. He looked at me as if I were a ghost already. "Why did you ask me to come here?" I demanded, my voice cracking with something raw, maybe hope, maybe fear. His lips trembled, but not with regret. "Because you had to know." My laugh was bitter. "Know what? That you've been lying to me for months? That you took my designs and sold them as your own? That you—" I swallowed hard, voice breaking. "That you used me to get to her?" Silence. The kind that screams in your ears. He took one slow step toward me. "It was never supposed to be like this." I shook my head. "Then what was it supposed to be, Jin? You played me. You loved her the whole time, didn't you? Yuna. Sweet, quiet Yuna from the Choi family. The perfect daughter of billionaires. You threw me away the moment she looked in your direction." Jin's jaw clenched. "It wasn't about her. It was never—" "Don't lie to me," I screamed. The sound bounced off the wet, rotting walls. He reached out, desperate now. "I needed to survive, Lina. I needed to protect my sister. You don't know what they were going to do if I didn't—" "I would have helped you." I sobbed. "You should have told me the truth. We were a team. We were—" He moved forward again, hand still outstretched. "I didn't want you to get hurt." The irony burned. I took a step back. My heel slipped on the wet stair. "Wait. Lina?" Everything happened too fast. His hand shot out to grab me, too late. The world tilted. My body flew back. Air whooshed past my ears. The last thing I saw was his face, eyes wide, lips parted in horror. Then came the impact. Concrete met bone with a crack that echoed. Pain seared up my spine. My head slammed against the edge of the stairs. Warmth pooled beneath me. Too warm, too fast. Blood, my blood. I couldn't move. The rain kept falling. Jin's footsteps stumbled toward me, but his voice was distant now. Muffled, like I was underwater. "Lina? Lina." I blinked slowly. His shadow loomed over me, panicked and shaking. But I wasn't scared anymore. Just tired. My fingers twitched and found the thin chain around my neck. The silver lily pendant, my grandmother's gift. My lucky charm. It pulsed. A strange warmth spread from it, curling like smoke through my veins. Time slowed. The sounds faded. No more rain. No more Jin's voice. No more pain. Just light. Silver blue. Gentle and endless. And then, nothing. White? That was the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes. A ceiling so white it hurt to look at, smooth and perfect, like untouched snow. The soft scent of jasmine filled the air, mixing with something unfamiliar. Antiseptic, maybe. My heart pounded as I realized I was lying on a bed that wasn't mine, in a room I didn't know. Where am I? I lifted my hand and froze. These weren't my hands. They were slender, pale, with long, delicate fingers, like the hands of a porcelain doll. My nails were neatly trimmed and painted a soft pink, nothing like the chipped polish I'd worn for weeks. I pushed myself up, my breath quick and shallow, and caught sight of a mirror on the far wall. A girl stared back at me. No, not a girl. A stranger. Her face was heart-shaped, framed by long, ink-black hair that fell past her shoulders in soft waves. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, and flawless. And her eyes. God, her eyes. They were huge, dark, and filled with a sadness that felt too deep for someone so young. I blinked. She blinked. I reached up, and so did she. No, 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 no. I stumbled out of bed, my legs weak beneath me, and moved closer to the mirror. My reflection followed, silent and graceful, everything I wasn't. I raised trembling fingers to my cheek. The skin was cool, soft like silk. This wasn't me. "Miss Yuna? Are you all right?" The voice came from the door. A maid, dressed in black and white, peeked inside. Her expression worried, but polite. Yuna. The name echoed in my head, unlocking memories that weren't mine. I knew this face. I'd seen it 100 times in gossip magazines, on the arms of Jin at parties I wasn't invited to. Yuna Choi. The perfect daughter of the Choi family, the heiress, the girl he'd wanted all along. And somehow, I was her now. I'm fine, I managed, though my voice came out softer, sweeter. Even my voice wasn't my own anymore. The maid bowed and disappeared, leaving me alone with the storm in my chest. Why? How? I stumbled to the window, pulling aside sheer curtains. The city stretched out below, glittering beneath the pale morning light. Towers of glass and steel. The world felt the same, but I wasn't. The door opened again, this time with more force. Yuna. The woman who entered was tall, elegant, with a sharpness in her features that spoke of control and expectation. Mrs. Choi. Her mother. She looked me over as if searching for flaws. You've been unwell, she said, her tone clipped. But it's time you stop this weakness. There's a charity gala tonight, and the photographers will expect you to look radiant. Do you understand? I nodded, though my stomach turned. Her eyes narrowed, as if she sensed my hesitation. Remember who you are. We do not tolerate failure in this family. With that, she turned and left, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. Moments later, a man stepped in. Mr. Choi. His gaze didn't meet mine. He kept his distance, as if I were a fragile piece of furniture he might accidentally break. I trust you'll do what's expected, he said quietly, before retreating without waiting for an answer. I stood there, trembling, feeling the weight of their expectations pressed down on me like chains. But beneath the fear, something else stirred. Jin. His name tasted like ash in my mouth. He had wanted this life. This girl. This family's power. And now fate had handed me the perfect weapon. I clenched my new delicate hands into fists, watching the city below. You took everything from me, Jin. But now? Now, I have everything you ever wanted. And I will decide what to do with it. The jasmine-scented air felt heavier, almost electric, as if the universe itself was waiting for my next move. The dress felt like armor. Silk clung to my new frame, a dark blue so deep it might have been black in the low light of the Choi Estate's grand hall. The neckline dipped just enough to hint at vulnerability, but I stood straighter, taller, letting the fabric and glittering jewels distract from the storm inside me. I could feel every gaze in the room sliding over me. Curiosity, admiration, envy. Yuna Choi, the perfect daughter, had returned after weeks of seclusion. That's what they saw. But I wasn't Yuna. And tonight, I wasn't hiding. The chandelier above spilled gold over polished floors, over silver platters and crystal glasses. The air smelled of expensive wine and fresh flowers, but beneath it all was that familiar staleness of people pretending. And then, I felt him. Before I saw him, my skin prickled, my heart clenched. I turned, slow, deliberate. Jin stood at the far end of the room, drink forgotten in his hand, eyes locked on me. His mask of charm slipped for just a second, enough for me to see the shock beneath. His gaze raked over me, not like a man looking at a prize, but at a puzzle he couldn't solve. I lifted my chin. Let him see this version of me, confident, untouchable. He crossed the room, weaving between guests, his smile returning but not quite reaching his eyes. Yuna, he said smoothly, stopping too close, his voice low. You're breathtaking tonight. I let the silence stretch, watching him. Every muscle in his face was working to stay composed, but I saw the flicker of uncertainty. I had no idea flattery was still your weapon of choice, I said, tilting my head. My voice dripped with sweet venom. And it felt good. He blinked. A second too slow. I don't think we've met before, I added, my lips curling. The Jin I've heard about wouldn't waste time on empty words. The confusion in his eyes deepened. He laughed softly, but it sounded strained. You've changed. Maybe I've just stopped pretending. His mouth opened, but whatever clever line he had died when, across the room, Mrs. Choi's sharp voice cut through the music. You useless girl. Look what you've done. Heads turned as she towered over a young maid, who trembled beside a fallen tray. Crystal shattered on the floor, red wine spreading like blood across the marble. The maid stammered apologies, on the verge of tears. Before I could think, my feet moved. I left Jin standing there, crossing to the scene. "That's enough, mother," I said, louder than I intended. The room hushed. Even the quartet in the corner faltered. Mrs. Choi's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" I bent, helping the maid gather the broken glass, my fingers steady. "It was an accident. No need to embarrass yourself further by making a scene." The maid's wide eyes met mine, grateful and shocked. Gasps rippled through the guests. This wasn't how Yuna Choi spoke. This wasn't how she acted. Mrs. Choi's mouth tightened to a thin line. She said nothing, just turned sharply and walked away, her heels cracking against the floor like gunshots. I straightened, brushing my hands together. The amulet at my neck warmed, just faintly, a soft pulse of light beneath the silk. I exhaled slowly, glancing around. The weight of stairs pressed in, but I didn't care. For the first time, I felt it, power. Not the borrowed kind that came from a family name, but the kind I forged myself. And when I turned, Jin was still there, watching. His expression unreadable. I met his gaze and smiled. Not sweet, not kind. A smile that told him I wasn't the girl he thought he knew. His lips parted, like he wanted to speak, to ask. But I was already walking away, leaving him to drown in his questions. From the balcony above the conference room, I watched Jin like a hawk watches prey. He sat at the long mahogany table, surrounded by men in tailored suits and forced smiles, but he was the only one I saw. He looked polished, confident, the Jin the world admired. But I saw the cracks beneath the surface. His fingers drummed too fast against his glass of water. His eyes flicked to his phone one too many times, as if waiting for news that would decide his fate. Soon, Jin, I thought, my heart steady, my breath slow. Soon you'll know what it feels like to lose everything. The meeting below was a dance of power and promises. My father, or rather Yuna's father, sat at the head of the table. His voice was measured, his words heavy with meaning. Mr. Choi commanded the room without ever raising his voice. Jin deferred to him, as did everyone else. And that was where I would strike. I had spent weeks listening at doors, reading files I wasn't supposed to touch, piecing together the web Jin had woven. A secret partnership with a construction firm tied to the black market. Loans from men who didn't forgive. And a development project that was his lifeline. A riverfront complex that would either make or break him. Break him, I decided. All it took was a quiet word to Mr. Choi, framed as a daughter's concern. The firm was unstable, I suggested sweetly. Risky. Dangerous to our family's name. My father listened, and in the end he pulled the Choi investment, the keystone Jin needed. The next morning I found myself sitting by the office window, coffee cooling in my hand, watching the city wake beneath the rising sun. And I smiled. Later that day, I met Haejin at the park. He had been persistent, sending message after message, his worry bleeding through every word. The park was quiet, the pruned trees and gentle slope of the grass reflected in the stillness of the pond. Ducks glided over the surface, unbothered by the weight I carried. Haejin arrived breathless, his hair tousled by the breeze. "Yuna," he said, relief and confusion tangled in his voice. "I was starting to think you were avoiding me." I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, careful, composed. "I've been busy." He sat beside me on the bench, searching my face. "You're different. I don't mean just now, since you came back. It's like, you're stronger, but colder, like you're hiding something." The words hit harder than I expected. "I'm just tired of being weak," I said softly, watching the ripples spread across the water. "Maybe you should try it sometime." He flinched, and I hated that I'd hurt him, even a little. "I didn't mean—" I started, but he shook his head. "No, maybe you're right." He stared at the pond, his voice lower. "But I miss you, the old you, the girl who used to laugh with me under these trees, the one who didn't have to prove anything to anyone." I swallowed hard, my resolve bending for just a moment. That girl was gone. She had died on a cold staircase while the man she loved watched her fall. "Haejin," I said quietly, "people change." He nodded slowly. "They do. But not this fast, not this much." I stood, brushing invisible dust from my skirt. The wind carried the scent of the pond, clean and sharp. "I have to go," I said. There's a lot I need to take care of. He rose too, looking as if he wanted to stop me but didn't know how. Just don't lose yourself, okay? I forced a smile, one that didn't reach my eyes. Maybe I'm finally finding myself. That night, I watched the news break. Choi Group withdraws support for Kang Development's Riverfront project. The headlines rolled across the screen, and with them, Jin's empire began to crumble. For a moment, I let myself savor it. The satisfaction of striking back, the justice I thought I craved. But deep beneath the triumph, a small voice whispered, "And what now, Lina?" The amulet at my neck felt heavy, as if it knew the answer before I did. The rain was relentless that night, drumming against the concrete like 1,000 tiny hammers. The air in the underground parking garage was thick with the smell of gasoline and wet asphalt, the sound of water dripping from pipes echoing through the emptiness. I stood in the shadows, watching Jin fumble with his keys beside his sleek black car. His shoulders sagged beneath the weight of his soaked coat. His hair clung to his forehead, his tie hung loose around his neck, and the bottle in his hand betrayed what his posture tried to hide. He was drunk and broken. For a moment, I considered walking away. Let him drown in the mess he'd made. But my feet stayed rooted, as if some invisible thread still tied me to him. He cursed under his breath, dropping the keys. They clattered to the ground, the sound sharp in the hollow space. "Need help?" I asked, my voice carrying across the distance between us. He froze, head snapping up. His eyes found mine in the dim light, wide and glassy. "Yuna," he said, breathless, like seeing me was the last thing he expected. I stepped closer, my heels clicking softly on the wet floor. "You shouldn't be driving." A bitter laugh escaped him. "Since when do you care?" "Don't flatter yourself," I said, though my tone lacked its usual venom. "I'd rather not read about your car wrapped around a tree tomorrow morning. It'd be inconvenient." He sank against the car door, sliding down until he sat on the ground, bottle resting between his knees. "Inconvenient," he echoed, as if testing the word. "That's what I've become, huh?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The silence pressed in, broken only by the steady drip, drip, drip of the rainwater. "I tried so hard," he whispered, more to himself than to me. "I thought if I could just pull this off, if I could just finish the project, everything would be okay." His head tipped back against the door. His eyes closed. But I screwed it all up. I always do. The sight of him like this, not the polished, charming man the world admired, but the raw, human Jin, unsettled me more than I wanted to admit. "You should go home," I said quietly. He shook his head. "There's nothing left for me there. Nothing anywhere, really." I crossed my arms, trying to shield myself from the part of me that still ached for him. "That's not true, and you know it." He opened his eyes, and for the first time in so long, they were unguarded. "You don't understand, Yuna. I'm in over my head. The debts, the deals. I can't see a way out. I thought I could play the game, outsmart them. But I was a fool." He rubbed his face with shaking hands. "And Lina? God, Lina. I dragged her into it. I used her. And look where that got us." My heart clenched. Hearing him say my name, her name, with that much regret made my breath catch. "She didn't deserve it," he went on, voice cracking. "None of it. I hated myself every day, but I kept going, because I thought if I could just fix it, if I could protect my sister, maybe the ends would justify the means. But there are no ends, just more wreckage." I stared at him, at the broken pieces of the man I once loved, the man I still wanted to hate. And suddenly, I didn't know what I felt. Pity? Anger? Both, tangled so tightly I couldn't pull them apart. "You think saying this changes anything?" I asked, but my voice was softer than I meant it to be. "No," he said. "It doesn't change a damn thing." But I needed to say it. The rain outside the garage grew louder, a steady roar. Inside, everything felt impossibly still. I knelt, reaching for the keys at his feet. Our fingers brushed. His warmth startled me. "Let me call a driver," I said. "You're not going anywhere like this." He looked at me, really looked, as if trying to read the truth beneath my mask. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice a breath above a whisper. "You're not the Yuna I remember." I stood, keys in hand. Maybe I'm just tired of pretending. and for the first time I saw it. The faintest glimmer of recognition, like some part of him sensed the ghost standing in front of him. But before he could speak again, I turned away, heart pounding, angry at him, at myself, at the bond that refused to die. The pen felt heavy in my hand. I stared at the contract before me, the words blurring at the edges. One signature. That's all it would take. One signature, and Jin's world would collapse. His final lifeline, gone. The city spread out beyond the glass walls of the office, a sea of lights under the night sky. From up here, it all seemed so small, so easy to destroy. I signed. The ink dried as the weight of my choice settled over me. Mr. Choi's advisors would deliver the papers first thing in the morning. The last investor Jin needed had pulled out under quiet pressure from the Choi Group. His riverfront project, his dream, would drown before the first stone was laid. I didn't sleep that night. I sat by the window, the glow of my phone screen the only light. News alerts poured in, each headline sharper than the last. Kang Development faces collapse as investors withdraw. Rumors of corruption surface amid riverfront project failure. Kang Development under investigation for financial misconduct. My chest felt tight, but I told myself this was what I wanted, what I'd worked for. Then the final blow came. University confirms expulsion of student linked to scandal. Jin's sister. The photo in the article showed her wiping tears from her face as she left the administration building. Reporters crowded her, cameras flashing. She looked so small, so lost. I put the phone down, my hands shaking. The room was silent, save for the hum of the city beyond the glass. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to stop the trembling, but it was useless. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? I thought of Jin, of his face that night in the garage, of the brokenness in his voice when he spoke of his sister. You wanted to see him fall, I reminded myself. You wanted him to feel what you felt. But as the city lights blurred behind my tears, the victory tasted like ash. I sank to the floor, pulling my knees to my chest. The tears came fast now, silent and hot, carving paths down my cheeks. I hate you, I whispered, though I didn't know if I meant Jin or myself. My fingers found the amulet at my neck. It felt cold, heavier than before. When I looked down, I saw that the soft glow that once comforted me had dimmed, the silver surface now dull and dark, like my heart. I stayed there for what felt like hours, watching the night give way to dawn, the city slowly waking beneath a sky the color of bruises. And for the first time since my rebirth, I wondered if I had chosen wrong. The night air was cool, carrying the scent of rain-soaked roses and fresh earth. I stood alone in the garden, the moonlight painting the world silver. The grass, still damp from the earlier storm, chilled my bare feet as I walked among the flowers, trying to quiet the storm inside me. I heard his footsteps before I saw him. Jin. He emerged from the shadows between two trees, his face drawn, hollow-eyed, like he hadn't slept in days. The moon caught the lines of exhaustion on his face, the weariness in his posture. "Yuna," he said, his voice low, rough. I didn't move. "Why are you here?" He hesitated, then stepped closer, hands at his sides, empty, as if he'd come to me with nothing left to offer. "Because I can't keep hiding. Not from you." I turned, meeting his gaze fully for the first time in what felt like forever. "You should have thought of that before." "I know." His voice broke on the words, "But I need you to understand. I need you to hear the truth. Please." Something in his tone, raw, stripped of charm, made me stay silent, made me listen. He drew in a shaking breath. It wasn't about power, it wasn't about greed. I didn't betray Lina because I wanted to hurt her. I did it to save someone else. The world seemed to still around us. Even the breeze held its breath. "My sister," he whispered. "Mina." The name hit me like a stone to the chest. "She owed money," he went on, "not just to loan sharks, to the kind of people who don't give warnings. They take what they want. And when she couldn't pay, they took her. Locked her away. Threatened to sell her, or worse." His eyes glistened in the moonlight. I had nothing, no way out. Until they offered me a deal. I could see it now, the choice that had haunted him. Flashback. A dim basement. The stink of mold and fear in the air. Mina, wrists chained to the wall, blood on her lip, eyes wide with terror. Jin kneeling before a man in a dark suit, his voice shaking. "I'll do anything, just let her go." The man smirked. "There's a woman, you know who. You know what we want from her. Deliver and your sister walks free." "I thought if I could just get through it, if I could protect her, maybe I could fix everything after," Jin said, pulling me back to the present. His voice trembled. "But I destroyed everything instead. I destroyed Lina. And I can't take that back." I stared at him, the pieces falling into place. The secrets, the desperation, the betrayal that wasn't as simple as I'd let myself believe. My fingers found the amulet at my neck. It pulsed softly now, warm against my skin, as if it too forgave him. Jin stepped closer, stopping just short of touching me. His eyes searched mine. "I know you probably hate me. I hate myself. But I had to tell you." For a long moment, I couldn't speak. The anger, the hurt, they were still there. But beneath them was something else. A deep, aching sorrow for the boy who had tried to save the people he loved and lost himself in the process. I took a slow breath. The garden seemed to exhale with me, the night softening. "I don't hate you," I said finally, my voice a whisper. "But I don't know how to forgive you either." His shoulders sagged, as if even that small mercy lifted some of the weight. "I'll wait," he said. "As long as it takes." And under the moon's quiet gaze we stood, two souls broken by choices, bound by truths too heavy to carry alone. The first light of dawn crept over the city, washing the skyline in soft gold and pink. I sat by the window, knees drawn to my chest, the world below slowly stirring awake. But inside me, everything was still chaos. This was the moment. The choice I had been running from. Destroy him. Save him. The amulet at my neck felt warm now, as if urging me to decide. I closed my eyes. I saw his face in the garden, broken but honest. I saw the boy who had made unforgivable choices for love. And I saw myself, teetering on the edge of becoming what I hated. No more. The plan came together faster than I expected. Maybe because deep down, Jin had already been preparing for it. Too tired of running, too hollow from guilt. We went to the police, armed with the evidence he'd gathered in secret. Names, accounts, locations. Everything needed to take down the men who'd controlled him for so long. "They'll come for us," I said, as we left the station, the morning sun blinding. Jin nodded. "Then let them." It didn't take long. By nightfall, they found us. A warehouse. Cold, empty, but for the echo of our footsteps. The place Jin had been ordered to meet them one last time. The trap was set. But so was ours. I stood beside him, heart hammering, as dark shapes emerged from the shadows. The boss stepped forward, smile sharp and cruel. "You should have known better, Jin," he hissed. "You don't get to walk away." Behind me, sirens wailed in the distance. The boss's smile faltered. "Cops," one of his men spat, drawing a gun. Everything happened at once. Jin moved, fast, too fast. He shoved me behind a pillar as the gun fired. The sound was deafening, the bullet sparking against concrete. "Stay down," he shouted. Chaos exploded around us. Officers stormed in, shouting commands. The gang scattered, but not before another shot rang out, and Jin staggered back, clutching his side. "Jin," I cried, crawling to him as he sank to his knees. "I'm fine," he gasped, though blood darkened his shirt. Police swarmed the warehouse, dragging the men away. The nightmare was over, but Jin was pale, shaking. "Why did you do that?" I whispered, tears blurring my vision as I tried to stop the bleeding. "Why would you risk your life?" He reached up, brushing my cheek with fingers that trembled. "Because I couldn't lose you. Not again." Later, we stood on the roof of the hospital where they'd taken him, the city spread out before us under the stars. His wound was bandaged, his arm around my shoulders, pulling me close. "I don't deserve you," he said, voice rough. "But I love you. I've always loved you. Even when I didn't know how to show it. Even when I failed you." I looked up at him, heart full in a way I hadn't felt in so long. "We've both made mistakes, Jin. But maybe now we can finally stop running from them." He smiled, not the practiced charm, but real and soft, for me alone. "Is that a yes?" I nodded, leaning into him. "Yes. It's a yes. And as the first stars blinked to life in the night sky, the amulet at my neck glowed silver once more, warm and pure, as if the universe itself had forgiven us. The wind off the ocean was warm and gentle, carrying the scent of salt and wildflowers. I leaned against the railing of the veranda, the wood smooth beneath my fingers, the soft crash of waves filling the quiet between us. Jin sat beside me, his hand wrapped around mine, steady and sure. The house behind us was small, simple, nothing like the towering glass and steel of the world we'd left behind. But it was ours. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. The sky had begun to darken, painted in hues of lavender and gold. Seagulls called to one another as they settled for the night. Everything about this place felt untouched, as if the past couldn't find us here. Jin turned to me, his dark eyes soft, reflecting the fading light. "You're different," he said, his thumb gently tracing over my knuckles. "But I love this you. All of you." His words settled over me like the warmth of the setting sun. Not as a confession or apology. We'd moved beyond that. They were simple. True. I took a deep breath, tasting salt on my lips. "I don't feel like I'm running anymore," I said. "Not from you. Not from myself." I touched the amulet at my neck. It gleamed in the twilight, silver and pure once more, the darkness that had clouded it gone. The weight of it felt different now, not a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd found. Jin's arm slipped around me, pulling me close. His heartbeat was steady against my cheek. "We made it," he whispered. I smiled, closing my eyes as the breeze tangled my hair. "Yeah," I said softly. "We did." And as the stars began to dot the sky, the past faded with the daylight, leaving only the promise of tomorrow. A new beginning.